and welcome inside episode 104 of Breaking Bats, presented by Not For Long Media. My name is Justin Ayers. I'm joined once again by Ryan Ripken. Dude, 104 is so many episodes.
Dude, it's nuts. I can't believe. I remember when you were just in the beginning starting this off with Brian. I mean, it's crazy how the time flies, but 104, here we are. And it's been an interesting start, I guess, Justin. Interesting, slow, however you want to consider this off season so far into 2024.
Yeah, and that's the lead off thing I wanted to get into today, was just like baseball news. We don't get a lot of it. And I was just saying this before, like, it's very funny whenever like something trickles out in the middle of January. Like, if there's no free agency signings, it's funny to see the baseball media collective all come together and be like, hey, this is our story for the week. You get one story a week, it feels like. Although we did have the Hall of Fame, so that I guess can supplement some of that. But we'll start with just like the slow off season. I don't know what you can attribute that to. Some people are blaming super agent Scott Boras. There's 19 of the top MLB 50 free agents are still available right now. 6 of those are Boras guys. Yeah, it's crazy to think, guys like Bellinger, Snell, Montgomery, Chapman, like even some lesser tier guys are still floating around out there. What are your thoughts on MLB dragging free agency as we approach February?
I feel like it's definitely changed over the years, right? Didn't it feel like growing up or over, the younger years, I guess, for us? Yes, yeah, growing up. Let's just keep it that way. Growing up, it felt like guys signed relatively quickly after, the World Series or before the new year. Let's put it that way. Now we're seeing a lot of guys going into 2024 not having contracts, going into spring training not with the team. And I'm just scratching my head like, damn, that seems foreign to what I was used to growing up. But I feel like that's just where it is. And I think what's been debunked, Justin, is that the guys being prepared. I mean, look, guys train the entire offseason. So they're going to be ready to go. But that was definitely a thought of, oh no, what if you're coming into training or spring training late? It's that's definitely different. But I think what's just shocking is a lot of teams are just willing to say, you know what, whether they're willing to say we'll hold off or the team or the players are just going to stand firm. And here we are and recording this January 23rd. Spring training is what, a couple of weeks away, 3 weeks away. And there's a lot of great names. I mean, Cody Bellinger, we talked about him, Justin. I mean, very talented player, obviously wants to cash in, but clearly some teams are not willing to pay that type of money right now.
Yeah, Cody might have set his goals a little too lofty for one good season after like 4 bad ones in a row. I kind of like, though, like if Scott Boras was my agent, I would be content to sit and wait, because at the end of the day, Scott's going to get you the best deal possible. Some guys take longer than others, but at the end of the day, if Scott's your guy, like, I'm going to get my check and it's going to be big. Like, that's something as a fan, it's hard to get like grasp, because everybody's, they try to vilify Scott Boras as like, he doesn't like my team, or he does so many deals with only specific teams. Shout out the Nats. Love Scott Boras there. It's weird how like sometimes agents get vilified in this way, but if you're a player, I would just be prepared to like, hey, wait it out, stay ready, and let Scott get your money for you.
Yeah, I mean, that has been something that Scott has done. He gets players their money, no doubt about it. But to your point with just guys like Bellinger, we'll talk about Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery, and make no mistake though, like these guys are going to get good contracts, right? They're going to be paid very well. But you know what I wonder too, Justin, with some of these teams, a lot of the different philosophy nowadays is, if this isn't a player that we need to go get right now because we're going or bidding against other teams, these other, organizations are looking at what they have and then seeing, is this something we really want to push? Because there are a lot of teams that might be on the cusp, or we've heard some rumors about certain teams that we know want to upgrade. I know we'll talk about the Yankees later, but teams like that want to upgrade. It's no secret, but they still think that they can get by without it. It's like a luxury, right? And right now they want to see, well, maybe in spring training we have a guy there that can be just as valuable at a fraction of the price. But that's neither here nor there, but that's been a continued battle when you talk about giving out these big contracts. I think fair to say, Justin, we're all about players getting their money, right? We want to
Yeah.
see it. I want to see it. But I do understand with teams, if players do set their sights high, are you always going to get a return on your investment? And that's something as a business person growing up as a player, never thought that. But I do think that's another reason why we are seeing guys hold out longer is because teams are saying, you know what, this does scare me a little bit, especially what we like a guy like Cody. Which Cody are you going to get? Are you going to get the guy that's going to return to MVP form? And was that last year a fluke, or is he really, really back? So I don't blame either side, but man, it keeps things boring, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's just I don't know, maybe I've just become numb to it, but sometimes you get a little like jealous when you're watching like NBA free agency and there's like 48 hours of nonstop like Woj bombs and Shams bombs and it's like damn, we can't get any of that. Like, the winter meetings some years are like that. Like I think it was like 2019 or 20 yeah, I guess it was 2019. Like all these guys were signing like I don't know. There's a part of me that wishes it was like that, but I also because I've heard a lot of people out there floating the idea of like, what if we just put like a deadline? Like, hey, everybody's got to be signed by March 1st or something. Um, and that did kind of work with the lockout. Like the day the MLB was going to lock out that week before was just free agency mania. Like, do you think that there anything the union would probably never agree to this, but like, do you think we should investigate some sort of like put in a calendar date to this?
Yeah, the union's never going to agree to that. But you're right. Whenever there's a deadline put, doesn't it seem like things feel like they're forced more? It's with everything, right? That we have to speed up the process. And I think just as a baseball fan, we just want to see. We're eager to see where these guys are going. But I don't think they're going to put a deadline on it, right? And I don't see why they would, just because it'd be one thing if it was drastically impacting, like I said, guys' performance or health on the field, but there hasn't been enough of that to prove it. We'd be selfish, Justin, in that way. We just want to see where guys are going, and these guys too. Though the reason why you're bringing it up, I mean, these are impactful players, and I'm not saying there's going to be underrated signs. There's going to be guys that maybe were overpaid, but when you look at that list right now, that are guys that are available, and you're looking at all these teams going into the season, those players could be extreme difference makers, and could be the one piece that could push a team over the top, or hopefully the goal of getting to a World Series.
I thought this third wild card would make it so like everybody thinks they're a contender. I mean, hell, the Kansas City Royals have spent like they added like $50 million worth of payroll this year, this offseason. So yeah, I thought that might have kickstarted some of this, but I feel like we're still kind of at the same point we always have been. But you brought up something that I actually wanted to go there next, was just like the best and the most underrated signings of the offseason. I know there's not that many to pick from. I wish there was more. But when you think of the best overall, like who on the free agency market did it for you?
Well, I think, are we talking about with best, as far as, are we talking about underrated or best value? Because I'll start with this. I know people don't necessarily like this from Baltimore, but I'll stick with Baltimore to start here. I still was a big fan of the Craig Kimbrell signing for the value that it was. When you're looking at what other closers have gone for, or other relief pitchers, a 1 year was a $12 million, $13 million deal, I believe it was. So in that 12, 13 million range, to get a guy, and it has another option for a second year, if I'm not mistaken. And when you're looking at around what some other relievers got, and you were locked into 30 million plus, Ronaldo Lopez, a guy that I've faced and was actually in the Nationals organization with him, talented pitcher, but probably if you're not a fan of the White Sox, you might have not known who he was as much. And he got $30 million over 3 years. That's $10 million a year. So Craig Kimbrell is a guy that can fill the gap for the Orioles and close out games. So I do like that signing. I think we both can agree on this one, though, Justin. And this is the one I wanted to save, is I want you to talk about it. How about Aaron Nola? Aaron Nola was, we talked about this before, really great job by the Phillies getting their guy.
He's just a workhorse. Like, you're getting 30 plus out of him every single year. He's been in the Phillies organization the entire time, so the Phillies know everything there is to know about Aaron Nola. They signed him early in the offseason, so like they didn't have to have like somebody else around him set the market for him. Like they were the ones that set the price at 7 for 172. Like sometimes you'll see like guys' prices will get driven up by like comparable players, and it sucks because it's like, for the team, you're like, damn it, we should have got him before. That way we could have been the ones that did that. I love it. I think that they got him at the right time. He's a great fit for Philly. It's a good one, and I think it's one that not enough people are talking about because everybody's like, oh, hey, Shohei, 10, 700, you know. But for my money, give me Aaron Nola as the best of the offseason so far in terms of free agency.
Yeah, I mean, if we want to talk about, winners of it, obviously the Dodgers, you get Otani, you get
Yeah.
Yamamoto, like two great pitchers now. The only thing to play devil's advocate in this, Justin, because why not? Just Yamamoto has never pitched in the majors. Now, has he shown that he's fully capable of being a top end guy? Absolutely. But you still got to go through a full season. You got to walk the walk and see what happens. Now, Otani, it speaks for himself. We've seen it. But obviously the Dodgers are there. But for Nola, a guy, you just brought that up. What do teams care the most about, Justin, when they have pitchers? You mentioned workhorse, right? You want a guy that is consistent, stable, durable. You know what you got in him. And over the last few seasons for Aaron Nola, specifically 2021, 2022, and 2023, 32 starts. Yes, three straight years of 32 starts. In 2020, obviously a weird year, only 12. And in 2019, 34, 2018, 33, when he was an all-star for the Phillies. Look, that might not seem as much. You can look at the ERA, and we know it's been up and down at times, Justin, but a guy that has proven he can pitch in the postseason, a guy that loves the big moment, and he's going to go out there and take the ball every 5 days, sign me up for that. I mean, that is bravo for the Phillies. And what I love is Nola wanted to be back too, so why drag this process out? So really, I'm glad we could agree on that one because, man, I love everything about it. And Philly, their window is still open, so they're going to go try to chase a chance to go take home a World Series championship.
And they got him for a slightly lower AAV than some of these other pitchers on the market are getting. So, kind of a good deal. The most underrated one, and this is, it's not one that's going to make headline news. Like I'm sure MLB Network maybe had 30 seconds on it when it happened, but Kevin Kiermaier going back to the Jays for 1 year, 10 mil is one of the best signings of the offseason. And I know Blue Jays fans will be like, oh, he doesn't hit enough. He had a 4 WAR. I think he had a 3.9 WAR last season. He won a Gold Glove. His defensive run saves are off the chart. He's a better than league average hitter in terms of OPS plus. Like, what more can you ask for somebody for 1 year and $10 million? Like that's a throwaway contract, and you got somebody who's bringing 4 wins above replacement. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think those are the deals right there too, Justin, that can really change a team too. We talk about bringing in a guy that can take you over the top, that you think is a quote unquote star. How about the guy that, again, Kiermaier's just been a solid player. It's just, and to get him at that price, a guy that you know what you have, and he could surprise you, but what you do know that you have is a guy that has been a bona fide big leaguer that can make an impact on the game. I really like that a lot. I'm with you on there. I think a couple that I'm just intrigued with, and maybe it's this case because, Will Smith, it's the Will Smith, he pitches for your team, you win the World Series, right? But I always look at the 1 year deals and Will Smith, 1 year, $5 million deal. Not his best 2023, 4.4 ERA, but a guy just like you never know what could possibly happen. Those 1 year contracts can turn out to be something that's great. And the other one I wanted to go to, which I know, again, sour taste and for Baltimore fans for him to being traded over, but I'm going to circle Jack Flaherty. I want to watch that one with the Tigers. I know that was a $14 million deal, but the 1 year pitchers, because correct me if I'm wrong with this, Justin, Michael Wacha had a 1 year deal last year, I believe. I got to check it. But Michael Wacha was a guy, I remember when he signed last season, it was well, I wonder why the Sorry, let me backtrack to this. Michael Walker was a guy that I'd always watched and always had been a fan of him as a player, right? But I do understand you go through injuries, maybe your longevity's put into question, right? And all Michael Walker has done. Oh, sorry, that's what it was. I apologize. He had a 1-year, $7 million contract in 2022 with the Red Sox. That's what I was thinking of the year before. And look, he played himself into to multiple contracts, and that was something that I think Jack Flaherty can do. So that's where I was going with this conversation. And Jack Flaherty is still a young pitcher, and I think that's what people need to realize. So I liked what the Tigers did there. So that would be the guy that I'm really circling because I do think he can have a great bounce back in 2024.
There's no such thing as a bad 1-year contract. I want that on my tombstone. I want that as my new life mantra. There's no such thing as a bad 1-year contract. Like, if it doesn't work, it's a year. Like, regardless of how much money it is, like, yeah, here's a good example. We talked briefly about it. It was just like our Nationals. How about Joey Gallo for a year, $5 million?
Mm-hmm.
This is somebody, like, even when he strikes out 400 times a year, it feels like his OPS plus will still be 100. He's still going to hit. Last year, he had 21 home runs for the Twins. Don't look at his batting average. It's not pretty, but he walks a ton. He plays good defense. He's like a Gold Glove caliber outfielder. Like, yeah, why not on a Nationals team that has no power? I want 25 to 30 Joey Gallo bombs, please.
Yeah, I mean, Joey Gallo. Yes, you understand the roller coaster that can be with Joey Gallo. Can strike out a lot, might not get on base at the clip that you want, but can that guy pack a punch and hit some absolute tanks? You're damn right. And when he gets going, he gets going. So, and what's the worst thing? Oh, it doesn't work out and you eat the money or you move on. So what? Or you have a guy that goes out there and can make an impact for the team. I'm with you, Justin. I don't know if you just thought about that with the 1-year contracts, but what's awesome about the 1-year deals is if it's terrible and it sucks, it's over for everybody. You move on. But if you're the player, this is the incentive part, and these guys are competitors. That's why I was looking at a guy like Jack Flaherty and a guy like even Joey Gallo. These guys are playing for their future earnings, for their career. And so that is something you can't underestimate when you have 1-year deals because it's going to challenge the guys. It's kind of like a put up or shut up. You guys didn't want to sign me to a long year deal. Okay, let me go out and see if I can show you why I'm worthy of another contract. Can't wait. But Joey Gallo, yeah. Can you imagine him hitting some balls, 450 swings? I don't care if he goes 1 for 5, strikes out 4 times, but hits a tank. You know what? You're a Nats fan. You'll take that.
I absolutely will. Everybody on a 1-year contract, just like the Michael Jordan meme, and I took that personally.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you didn't believe in me? All right, bet. It's like the Michigan football team. They're all just going to tweet bet.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I wanted to explain one more thing with Michael Walker when I was trying to make the comparison. Walker had a 5.05 ERA in 2021 with the Rays. And then he came back with the Red Sox next year on that Prove It, had a 3.32 ERA. And that was actually before with the Rays. He had a 5.05, Mets in 2020, 6.62, and with the Cardinals, a 4.76. And so what did Michael Walker say? Great. I'll prove it. And now he's continued his career. And that's the cool thing. That's what I love it. You don't count somebody out. Don't count. Now I'm going to have to go back and look at that Michael Jordan meme or just watch that clip. By the way, phenomenal documentary too. But that's beside the point.
We could just, at the end of the offseason, we should just do like an entire episode of just like 1-year deals. That's like, what if we just break down, hey, trademark, nobody can steal this idea. What if we just break down 1-year deals? We just do like 30 minutes of like, hey, this guy 1 year here, Joey Gallo. Like I would love that.
I would love that too, because that would, and we could say if it was right or wrong, but man, it would be fascinating, wouldn't it? Because I bet you, Justin, there is a lot of those contracts there. Because another one I just thought of, and I was just making sure it's confirming. It was a great 1-year contract back in 2014 when I don't know a certain team in Baltimore. You know who I'm talking about. Who is it?
The Boomstick, Nelly Cruz, 1 year, $8 million. Shout out Dan Duquette, dumpster diving.
So, and how about that? That was an absolute steal of a 1-year contract. You know what? We're doing this at the end. And for everyone listening to this, you let us know about 1-year contracts, good or bad. I bet you we're going to find them but it is so I'm locked in. We're doing it, Justin.
I think we're absolutely doing that. It's gonna be so sick.
Lock it in.
We interrupt this episode to bring you a word from two apparel sponsors of this podcast. The first is Zero Negative. They are a brand out to inspire and empower individuals to find a positive message in everything they do, every time. They promote positivity and mindfulness in all of their products. Check them out at zeronegative.com. And last but not least, Few Will Hunt. It's one of my favorite brands out there. It's a great American company out of Philadelphia, out to restore the dignity of hard work. It is by far my favorite shirt to work out in. Check them out online at fewwillhunt.com. Now back to the episode. Lock it in. Here's somebody who got 7 one-year contracts tied together. Anthony Rendon. We've talked a lot on this podcast about his ongoing battle against the Angels media. He bullied Sam Blum from The Athletic all season by not talking and just kind of not being cheerful. He went, so again, going back to, this is our big baseball news nugget of the week. Anthony Rendon went on the Jack Vita show and he said, quote, "We got to shorten the season, man. There's too many dang games, 162 games, 185 days or whatever it is, man. No, we got to shorten this bad boy up." Made waves. Anthony Rendon, I think, has played 200 games the last 4 seasons, has been chronically injured. So yeah, and since 2021, he's played 148 games. So we're taking the COVID year out. For him to be the messenger on shortening the season, tough look.
Yeah. It's and this is a thing where it's just not good. I know people say all publicity is good publicity. This is not good PR for Anthony Rendon, because a lot of people's perception of him, not that he gives a shit about, and people nor should he. He's going to live his best life, but and he's earned it. But the point being, unfortunately for him, since he signed that contract, he has been one of the disappointments, especially for an Angels team that's been disappointing for a while, where he hasn't been on the field. They haven't had success, and now when you're not playing, you're saying that you wish the season was shorter. And whether or not like he's right or wrong with thinking that, people are going to be like, "Well, screw you, man. You haven't been on the field," and that doesn't help his perception. But I don't even know what to fully even think about it. I do know what I think about it. I wish he didn't say it. I wish it was somebody else that said it, not Anthony.
Because it could be like a valid like conversation. It could be something that it will also, the salaries would be lower because less games is less revenue, so that would have to be factored in. So the 35-year Anthony Rendon makes would probably be less. But yeah, I just think it was an odd, and I think he even tried to cage it around like, this is gonna be a very lighthearted take. Like, no, dude, that was just your legit, honest to God opinion. Like, that wasn't, you can't even say like LOL JK after that. That's just what you think. You can't. It's like when you send a really shitty text and you're like, damn, I wish I didn't say that. It's like, aha, just kidding, haha. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, it can't. But can't you with messages? Can't you unsend a message? I've never done it successfully, but I've heard you can do it. So I'm the one going, haha, just kidding, bad text. But with oh gosh, think before you send, everyone. That's the message of this episode of Breaking Bad.
Or
think
if you have an
before
iPhone,
you
delete
send.
it.
That too. Do both. But if you're like me, just don't send it. I think, though, like I said, I think it's been a conversation for a while. I personally, I don't mind the 162. I think it's always been the game. It is really tough for the players if you wanted to add in more off days or extend the season. Sure. But again, people are going to be more frustrated that it's coming from Anthony than anybody else just because he hasn't been on the field. And you're right. If they do shorten the season, that means the price of the value of the player is going to drop. And Anthony was a guy that really benefited because of his time. And this is another part. We talked about this for a second before we got on here, Justin. But with Anthony, what's your goal as a professional player? It's get drafted, get to the bigs, stay in the bigs, and whatever way this happens, but stay in the bigs, win a World Series, and get paid. And Anthony Rendon did that in 1 year in 2019. The Nationals win the World Series, and then you get the bag. And it's like, shout out, he deserved all of the money leading up to it. Absolutely, no doubt about that. But what sucks now is that you got the big deal. The Angels have been a disaster. And now, people are questioning how much you really want to play anymore. And, that's whether that's fair or not, that's what's happening when you open up these conversations. Um, and here we are, us even talking about it.
It's a tough scene. Yeah, it's definitely not what the Angels thought they were getting for Anthony Rendon off of a 2019 season where he was just killing it all year. And him and Strasburg got the same contracts that off season. So that was a bad winner for spending money.
Yeah,
Those two guys were, yeah.
yeah, and I mean, and just for people to understand, and this is kind of how the system is, and maybe that's the whole MLB situation of the arbitration and teams trying not to wait as long because you paid essentially for what Anthony Rendon had accomplished. That's really what you did, and Anthony Rendon in 2019 and before that previously. Justin, he had 3 straight years of hitting over 300. I know people don't care as much about batting average, but you know how impressive that is, especially given the day and age. And on top of it, over those seasons where he was just one of the best hitters in baseball, he had 3 straight years of over 40 doubles, 34 home runs, 24, 25. And 2 of those 3 seasons, he had over 100 RBIs. So the dude, when he is healthy or was healthy, was a stud. But unfortunately, what the Angels paid for is not the player that he was with the Washington Nationals.
Yeah, it's such a shame. He was one of my favorite players too, because like he played really good defense at third. He just was always
Oh,
on
stud.
base. He's like, it's a total package. So, it's really sad to see a shell of Anthony Rendon at this point. Um, I wanted to touch on the Yankees briefly. I wanted to get your thoughts on their offseason as a whole because I don't know how many more big moves they have left in them. Maybe who knows? Maybe they'll go out and maybe they'll surprise some people, and maybe the Cash Man will live up to his name. But in an offseason where Juan Soto and Marcus Stroman are I guess Verdugo too, but those are your big key additions. Like, has Brian Cashman redeemed himself and kind of silenced some of those critics up there in New York?
Well, if the Yankees don't win, it's never going to silence those critics, right? But I think that they have done a really good job so far this offseason. And, one of the rumors was that they were in on Blake Snell, right? And obviously with Yamamoto, they lost out there. I know the people in the AL East, I know the Baltimore roots that I have are not going to like this. I do think the Yankees are going to bounce back. I really do. And we've seen in the past Aaron Judge, when he's played, that offense was different. And the problem with Aaron Judge over the last couple of years, especially last year, when he got hurt, you could pinpoint the moment where the wheels started to fall off for the New York Yankees, right? You could feel it. You could sense it. Now you add a guy like Juan Soto. So now Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, you have these 2 guys that are 2 of the best hitters and players in all of baseball, and they're playing at Yankee Stadium. And then Verdugo is just that all around. Don't know what you think of him at time, but you do know he's going to play hard and he's going to bring a swagger to the team. I think the Yankees, if the Orioles aren't going to win the AL East, I think it's going to be New York. And New York is a team that, shout out to Brian Cashman and this team, that they're trying to make the push. But let me say this, Justin. The expectation is still the same. So if the Yankees, hey, they win the division, don't win the division, they don't win in the playoffs, it don't matter. It does not matter at all. You got to get there first. And I do think the Yankees are putting themselves in a position to get back to the postseason.
I like that take though. Yeah, if it's not gonna be the Royals, it's gonna be the Yankees. Like, yeah, I mean, well, I don't, I could see
Well,
it, but also there's a part of me that just looks at the rotation and some of their players that are be playing every single day, and I'm still just like, this is the same team as last year. And also like Rodon and Stroman, like Stroman had an 8.5 ERA second half last year. Like, pitching in Yankee Stadium, who knows what that'll look like. Rodon, that's one of the worst contracts going right now. Um, Nasty Nestor hasn't been anything but. So, they're going to need a lot of guys to, punch above their weight class a little bit and really need some guys to stay healthy the entire year. So, hey, you know what? It would give us something to talk about. rag on Kate a little bit. That would be fun. Give her some shit.
Oh yeah, hey, I'm all for that. But hey, you brought up Carlos Rendon. I wanted to bring that up and to give perspective on guys, he had a rough year, no doubt about that. And people are going, damn, I'm glad I didn't spend the money. But let me just say this: he needs to go into the season healthy, and if he does, I think Carlos Rodon is going to bounce back to being a guy that could be. And to me, he's kind of like that X factor on that New York Yankees rotation. You know what you have in Garrett Cole. You absolutely know that you got a guy that is at the top of the game. You know what you got. If you can add in another guy or two that can add to that role, and maybe this is for so many reasons for the Yankees, it's a redemption year. And I'm not going to call it a revenge tour as the team because that just sounds like a load of shit, and I found sound really corny. But what I will say is, guys, we talked about the 1-year contract stuff. True competitors, when they've been doubted, are going to come out and prove themselves in this moment. So this is an excellent opportunity for Rodon, great opportunity for Stroman to prove. And if they can, man, this Yankees team is going to look a lot different than they did. And if they don't, then, well, hey, sorry about it. And also, too, Justin, besides the Yankees and the Orioles, right now when you look around, like the Blue Jays, I don't know what's happening with Toronto. It felt like last year was going to be the jump. They didn't take it. Tampa's dealing with a whole lot of issues. You traded away Glasnow, Shane McClanahan. Now, I still trust Tampa. They find ways to be competitive. But Glasnow gone. McClanahan is going to be recovering. And then obviously the whole Wander Franco situation, not ideal. And then the Red Sox seem like the team that, to be honest, it just feels like they're the bottom of the barrel right now in the AL East. So, yeah, it looks like if I had to make choices right now, Yanks and O's, get ready to duke it out. It should be a fun 2024.
Just what we need. We need the Yankees fans emboldened to be the underdog. We need them to have the, everybody against us against the world mentality. Cause that's what Yankees fans on Twitter need. So,
Yeah.
I can't say I'll be here for it, but, we'll see what happens.
No, hey, I'm going to say this. I guarantee you the Yankees are still going to be ahead. And the Orioles, even though they won last year, are going to be underdogs again. And I want that. I want the Orioles to be underdogs again. And I bet you, Justin, if everyone stays healthy to start the year, I bet the Yankees are going to be the team talked about way more than the Baltimore Orioles repeating as AL East champs.
I like that. Underdogs. Nope. They're not
even
believing themselves. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not even believing themselves. We interrupt this episode to bring you a word from the official sponsor of Not For Long Media and the Breaking Bats podcast, the original Fudge Kitchen. It is a staple of the Jersey Shore with 6 locations in Cape May, Wildwood, North Wildwood, Stone Harbor, and Ocean City. The original Fudge Kitchen makes all of their fudge in-store guaranteeing a delicious product, so stop by and let them know that Not For Long Media and Breaking Bats sent you. Check them out online at fudgekitchens.com as they are shipping fudge and sweet treats all across the country. Now back to the episode. Okay, a couple last things. Here's a question about the balance of power in the American League West, because I saw the Houston Astros, they went out and they signed Josh Hader, a very un-Astros type move because you don't really see them spend buckets of free money in free agency. $95 million is crazy. Does the signing of Josh Hader, is that like a sign that the Astros are a little bit worried about the balance of power in the AL West? Like, are the Rangers just going to be the big bad guys in the AL West where the Houston is having to spend money to try to compete with them?
I don't think so. I think that Houston's realizing that their window and opportunity is getting close to an end. Now, people every year have been saying this is the year Houston's going to fall off. The Astros are done, blah, 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 blah. And all they've done is continued to battle. They were 1 win away from going to the World Series yet again. They're extremely talented. I think this is almost like, you know what? Screw it. We're going in. We're going to try to bolster our bullpen. And Hader wanted, and then people were asking, well, why don't other teams go after Hader? Well, it's because Hader wanted a big contract, and he got it. 5 years, $95 million, $19 million a year, if my math's correct there. I think my math's still there. Carry the one, Justin. But they have guys on their team, and when you look at their roster, and there's going to be question marks after 2024 with guys like Jose Altuve and Bregman and Kyle Tucker and even Jose Abreu. Like, this is not a young team anymore. So they're going to go for it. And Why not? I mean, I love what the Rangers did, but it's hard to repeat. It's hard to do it. Um, Astros did what they had to do. I like the move for Houston.
I think also I know Texas was interested in Hader, so this could also been a little bit of like, hey, we got to get him before he literally just goes across town. Um, it's weird to think of the Astros as being a team that could be on the decline. They made the postseason every year since 2017. But you're right that this is a big ongoing topic is the window because like after next year, it's like Altuve, Bregman, Presley, Verlander. Those guys are all free agents, and the year after, it's Abreu, Tucker, and Valdez. So it's a large portion of your team getting ready to hit the free agent market. I had a question about Hader though. Why is he so anti pitching more than 3 outs?
Yeah, I've been asked that before. I think and I don't blame him for that. I think when people look at it, they go, well, Josh Hader is not a true competitor. He doesn't want to go out there and pitch. And he doesn't want to go out there and do whatever what any means necessary to go out and get the win, whatever described to do. I don't think that's fair for Josh Hader. I think he's realizing how much he has in the tank. And I think in the comments that he's made of, I want to be able to pitch a full 162. And quite frankly, in a situation where we have seen guys go more and more, and I will say the playoffs, I believe in the playoffs, all bets should be off. That's just me personally. But I do understand during the season of being careful. And when you look at a guy like, unfortunately, Felix Bautista, since it's a good example, to me, he was the best closer in baseball up until the injury. The Orioles did ride him a lot. And I mean for a lot of, hey, Felix, get us 4, 5, even 6 outs in games during the season. And Felix, of course, is going to say, I want the ball. But in this case, unfortunately, Batista's out, and Hader is kind of realizing, he's realizing what his potential is. And at least I'll be honest, whether you like it or not, he's being honest with what it is. He's going, I can be the best version of myself, but I can only do this. And that might rub people the wrong way. But if Josh Hader goes out and gets you a 1.28 ERA with 33 saves next year, I think you're going to be pretty damn happy if you're Houston.
Yeah. It's just tough to see him in the bullpen in the 8th inning, though, like sitting down and then he's watching like the setup guy implode. It's like, damn, if only we had the best relief pitcher in baseball pitching right now. The last time he pitched more than 3 outs was 2020. So it's that I had to like double check that. I was like, no, that was 4 years ago. That couldn't be right. Yeah, I think that definitely rubs me the wrong way. I'm curious if he'll rub Houston fans the wrong way when they see him sitting out there. I know he's a Baltimore guy, but it's a tough look, Josh. It's a tough look.
Well, and that's what I'm saying is I think it's more so when it's do or die. In the regular season, I think it's all good. For me personally, if you're trying to preserve and you have the arms, but if it gets to a playoff mode, and that's just me personally. And then again, I'm not the one. It's not fair for me to judge. No one's going to know Josh Hader better than Josh Hader about what he wants. But personally, for me, I got to go out there and I got to go 4 or 5 batters or outs to secure us moving on or staying alive. Give me the damn ball. That's my mentality. But I also am not a guy that just got paid $95 million and is one of the most electrifying closers. But that's just my mentality. So we'll see. And I think it does help Presley having a guy like that in this situation. That's a good 1-2 punch, Justin. Really is. And arguably for me, I'd have to look at some of the rest of the league, but that's got to be near or at the top for 1-2 punch for the back end of the bullpen.
No doubt. It definitely, yeah. They had some guys leave in free agency. They had some innings to fill. So, yeah, I like the signing. We'll see what happens with 3+ outs. All right, we'll wrap up here. We wanted to give a congratulations to somebody who's a friend of yours, recurring guest, a friend of this pod, coming back to Birdland. Shout out Tyler Nevin. Orioles traded him to Detroit for cash considerations, and then they got him right back this offseason. So welcome back to Birdland, Tyler Nevin.
And cash considerations is you hate seeing them all go, but I love seeing that back with the Orioles, man. I really do. And And who knows? And this is the reality of the business. He could be here for the season, or you never know. He could be somewhere else. That's just the reality of it. But Nev's a good kid, great kid, has great stories, and he is a really, really solid player. And the funny thing is, we were talking about this. It felt like Nev could be 30, but Justin, he's younger than you.
He's a year younger than I am. And like, I don't know. It had me feeling, it got me in my feels. I was like, damn, like, it really sucks when you start getting to the age where it's like the best players in the sport are just like lapping you in age, where it's like, or you're lapping them in age. It's like, damn, I got 10 years on this guy. I got a year on Tyler Nevin. It's like, you know, hey, not compare yourself to anybody else. We're all working at our own pace. We're all, this is everybody's individual journey. But yeah, if I didn't look it up, I assumed Tyler. Maybe it's just because he's so mature and just a professional hitter. I just assumed he was like closer to 30. So, hey, you know what? Shout out Tyler Nevin. Welcome back to Birdland.
Shout out Tyler Nevin, baby. Let's go. I'm pumped. We'll see if we get Tyler back on here to talk a little bit more shop. Great kid. And hey, that's the business. You never know. You think you're gone from an organization. Well, guess what? You're coming right back. He's back.
Last thing. So the MLB Hall of Fame announcement was today. Shout out Joe Mauer, Todd Helton, Adrian Beltre for getting elected to Cooperstown. That's all well and fine. But we did this last year, and I wanted to bring it back briefly here at the end to wrap up this week's episode. It's the guys who got dropped off the ballot. So if you're not familiar, if you receive less than 5% of the vote, you will no longer be eligible to be on future ballots. So every year we lose, a dozen, 10 guys, and nobody really talks about them. So Ryan, I briefly wanted to just give some love to some guys that won't be on the Cooperstown ballot anymore, but still a hell of a career. James Shields did not receive a vote. James will not be back. Jose Reyes also did not receive a vote. Brandon Phillips, that dude, 1 vote. So maybe he has like a friend or a relative who's a BBWAA member. I don't know who would vote for Brandon Phillips otherwise. Adrian Gonzalez, one of your favorite defensive first basemen, received 3 votes. He will no longer be on the ballot. Matt Holliday, father of future Orioles legend Jackson Holliday, he received 4 votes. That's 1%. Matt's gone. Bartolo Colon, he received 5 votes. He's not coming back. Victor Martinez, V-Mart, received 6 votes. He's off. And last but not least, Joey Bats also received 6 votes, and he will no longer be on the ballot. For those guys, it's great to be on there. If you received a vote like Brandon Phillips, that's Brandon Phillips' Super Bowl right there. That's the best thing ever. So, we lost these guys, but, get to give them a little love right now.
Hey, got to give them love. Hey, hell, tremendous players. Just on the fact of just because they're not going to be in the Hall of Fame, like the dudes had great careers. And Bartolo Colon just refused to die in Major League Baseball for what, two decades, or he started pitching in 1997, and his last appearance was in 2018 with Texas at the age of 45. He was in the big leagues for 21 years. Like, how about that? And through that 21 years, he had, I believe, 4 All-Star game appearances. And shout out him. He did have a Cy Young with the Angels back in 2005. Not a big deal. Matt Holliday, stud. Matt Holliday, stud. Jackson Holliday, first overall pick, stud. And his other son, Ethan Holliday, might be the number 1 pick next year, apparently. So, like, great genes in that family, Justin.
Yeah,
but
solid.
But this is the one thing I'll say with this list. And yeah, Adrian Gonzalez, you're right. He was one of the first basemen I loved watching. The end of an era for these players, man. These are all guys that we've seen do some tremendous things over their careers, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles, man. And then there's going to be another group next year that'll be on and unfortunately off, and we'll have this same discussion.
Sad to see him go. But you know what? You got to get 5% to stay on. Some of these guys, like, hey, the last one who barely snuck it in, David Wright. I don't know if he's ever going to get into Cooperstown, but I'm glad he's back. 10 years from now, we might be like, hey, David Wright, that like 7-year peak, that's a Hall of Famer. So yes, the Cooperstown announcement is always a very, very fun time. Ryan, this has been great. Thank you, as always, for coming in, joining us on the pod. Listen to the Ryan Ripken Show, YouTube, live, Mondays and Thursdays.
Yeah, and then we do some specials. I mean, it's wild right now in Baltimore with everything with the Ravens. It is people are excited, a little nervous with the AFC Championship happening. So we'll do some specials on some other days. And who knows, Justin, when baseball starts rolling around, you just wait and tune in. But I'll be back on here to bother and remind you of what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. How about that?
I would love nothing more. Thank you all for listening. We will see you guys next week.